The galaxy had moved on. The Empire had fallen. The Jedi were rebuilding. But Ahsoka Tano could not sleep. Every night, the same vision returned. Anakin Skywalker, her master, her brother, burning on the shores of Mustafar. His voice cracked with hatred. His eyes glowed yellow. And each time she reached for him, he slipped further into the dark. She would wake in a cold sweat, her hand gripping her lightsaber. "I should have been there," she whispered. "I could have saved him." The guilt became unbearable. So Ahsoka followed the Force. It pulled her across the stars, past forgotten systems, past dead worlds, until she arrived at a place no map could chart, Mortis, the realm of the Ones, a world where the Force itself lived and breathed, where time was not a line but a river. Ahsoka stepped onto the glowing ground. The sky pulsed with light and shadow. And then, she heard a voice. "You carry a wound, child, a wound that was never yours to heal." It was the daughter, pale, radiant, alive again somehow. "Please," Ahsoka said, "show me a way. Show me how to stop him before he becomes Vader." The daughter raised her hand. A doorway opened in the air, swirling with memory, with pain, with possibility. "The path is open. But beware, young one. To change one fate is to unravel them all." Ahsoka stepped forward and vanished into the light. The light faded. Ahsoka stumbled forward, her boots hitting cold durasteel. She was on a rooftop. Coruscant stretched out before her. Endless towers, glowing traffic lanes. A city that never slept. Her breath caught. She knew this moment. She had lived it once before. From far away, the Jedi Temple stood in the distance, its 5 spires cutting into the sky. Still whole, still safe. For now. "I'm too late. Or just in time," she whispered. She pulled her hood low and ran. Across the rooftops, she leapt, flipped, and raced toward the temple. Her heart pounded. Somewhere in this city, Mace Windu was already gathering Jedi Masters. Somewhere, Anakin Skywalker was pacing, torn between Padme and the Chancellor. And somewhere, deep in his red-curtained office, Darth Sidious was smiling. Ahsoka could feel him. The darkness was thick, choking, ready to strike. She dropped into a speeder lane and hijacked an airspeeder. The owner shouted behind her, but she was already gone, weaving through traffic at reckless speed. Come on," she muttered. Then her comlink buzzed. A frequency she hadn't heard in years. A voice that made her chest tighten. "This is General Skywalker. Identify yourself." Ahsoka froze. Her hands shook on the controls. It was him. Alive. Still a Jedi. Still her Anakin. She swallowed hard. "Master, it's me. It's Ahsoka. And I need you to listen very carefully. Don't go to the Chancellor. Don't trust him. Everything you're about to do, it's a lie." Silence. Then, slowly, Anakin answered, "Snips, where are you?" The Jedi Temple was quiet. Too quiet. Ahsoka slipped past the guards, her hood still low, her lightsabers hidden. She knew every hallway, every shortcut, every shadow. This place had once been her home. She found him in the room of 1,000 fountains, alone, staring into the water. Anakin. He looked older than she remembered, tired, haunted. His hands trembled at his sides. "Ahsoka," he said without turning, "you shouldn't be here." "Neither should you, Master." He turned slowly. His eyes searched hers, confused, suspicious, afraid. "How are you here? You left. You walked away from the Order." "I came back for you," she said softly, "because I know what's happening. I know what he's telling you." Anakin's jaw tightened. "You don't know anything." "I know about Padme," Ahsoka said. His head snapped up, his breath caught. "I know about the dreams," she continued. "I know he promised to save her. But it's a lie, Anakin." "Palpatine, he is the Sith Lord." Anakin stepped back, shaking his head. No, that's not possible. He's using your fear. He's using your love for her to turn you into a monster. Stop. Anakin, please." I said stop. His lightsaber ignited. Blue light flooded the room. Ahsoka didn't move. She didn't draw her weapons. She only looked at him, with the eyes of a sister who had already lost him once. "If you strike me down," she whispered, "then he's already won." Anakin's hand shook. The blade hovered inches from her throat. Then, a voice crackled through his comlink. "Anakin, come to my office. The time has come." Palpatine. Anakin's speeder cut through the skylanes of Coruscant. His jaw was clenched, his knuckles white. Ahsoka's words echoed in his mind. "He's using your fear. He's using your love for her to turn you into a monster." He didn't want to believe it, but deep down, he already knew. He landed outside the Senate building and ran, down the long halls, past the red-robed guards, straight into the Chancellor's office. Palpatine stood by the window, calm as ever, smiling. "Ah, Anakin, right on time." Before Anakin could speak, the doors burst open behind him. Mace Windu, Kit Fisto, Agen Kolar, Saesee Tiin, 4 Jedi Masters, lightsabers drawn. "Chancellor Palpatine," Mace said coldly, "you are under arrest." Palpatine's smile twisted. His yellow eyes flashed. "I think not." In a blur, he leapt forward, his red blade igniting from his sleeve. Kit Fisto fell. Agen Kolar dropped. Saesee Tiin crumpled. Only Mace stood. Their blades clashed, blue against red, lightning against steel. Anakin watched. His hand hovered over his saber. Then Palpatine turned to him, pretending to weaken, screaming those familiar words. "Anakin, help me! He's going to kill me!" But this time, Anakin saw the truth. The mask was gone. The monster stood bare. "No," Anakin whispered. "You tried to kill the Jedi. You lied to me. About everything." His blue blade ignited. "You will never touch my wife." He stepped forward beside Mace Windu, and together, they advanced on the Sith Lord. Palpatine's eyes widened. For the first time in 1,000 years, a Sith felt fear. The office was in ruins, shattered glass, burning curtains, bodies of fallen Jedi on the floor. Palpatine hissed like a cornered animal. His yellow eyes darted between Mace Windu and Anakin Skywalker. "You fools, you have no idea what you're doing." He raised his hands. Blue lightning exploded from his fingers. Mace blocked it with his purple blade. Anakin stood firm beside him, but the Sith's power was unreal. Twisting, growing. Then, the doors blasted open. Ahsoka Tano charged in, both white lightsabers ignited. "Anakin, Mace, hold the line." She leapt through the air and struck from above. Palpatine spun, blocking her blade with inhuman speed. But now, he was outnumbered. 3 Jedi, 3 blades, 1 Sith. They circled him, pressed him, drove him back toward the shattered window. "You cannot win!" Palpatine screamed. "I am the Senate! I am the Republic!" "No," Anakin said coldly. "You're a monster." Their blades moved as one. Mace struck high. Ahsoka struck low. And Anakin drove his blue saber straight through the Sith Lord's chest. Palpatine gasped. His eyes went wide. The darkness around him cracked like broken glass. And then, he fell. Silence. The Sith was dead. 1,000 years of planning ended in a single breath. Ahsoka lowered her lightsabers. Tears filled her eyes. She turned to Anakin. He was shaking, but alive. Still himself. Still a Jedi. "It's over," she whispered. "Darth Vader will never exist." Anakin dropped to his knees, relieved, broken, free. But across the galaxy, in cold command centers, clone troopers stood at attention. A single signal had already been sent. The warning had come too late. Across the Republic, the clones heard the same command, Order 66. On Felucia, Aayla Secura turned at the sound of rifles rising. On Cato Neimoidia, Plo Koon felt betrayal before the sky burned around him. On Saleucami, Stas Allie never saw the shot that dropped her from speeder. The galaxy changed in minutes. The Jedi had won a war, only to be erased by the army they had led. At the heart of Coruscant, chaos spread through the temple halls. Younglings ran. Masters stood and fought. The clone troopers moved room by room with brutal precision, and every fallen Jedi made the silence heavier. In another timeline, warning might have saved them. In this one, panic only scattered the survivors. Yoda felt the deaths like knives through the Force. Obi-Wan felt them too, and the truth hit harder than any blade. This was not a battlefield defeat. This was execution. Sidious had not only destroyed the Jedi Order, he turned the Republic itself into the weapon. Far away, Anakin Skywalker stood at the edge of new darkness. He had changed one choice, but not enough. The clones still obeyed. Purge still began. And every death pushed the galaxy closer to the Empire he had tried to prevent. Bail Organa pulled survivors from burning streets. Rex hesitated, fighting the Order in his mind. Ahsoka vanished into smoke and blaster fire. Small acts of resistance sparked, but they were tiny beside a storm sweeping through every system. By nightfall, Jedi were no longer generals. They were prey. And then a transmission echoed from Coruscant Palpatine declaring the Jedi traitors, Republic reborn as the first Galactic Empire. The trap had closed. But somewhere in the darkness, few Jedi still lived, and Vader had not yet taken his first step. The Purge had begun, but the story was not over. Because in the shadows of a dying Republic, the next choice would decide whether Anakin Skywalker became the galaxy's last hope, or its final nightmare. After the temple fell, the survivors did not run blindly. They gathered in the shadows, pulled together by three names the Empire feared, most Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Ahsoka Tano. Obi-Wan became the mind of the Resistance. He mapped secret routes, rallied scattered Jedi, and reached out to senators, still loyal to the Republic. Bail Organa answered. So did Mon Mothma. Quietly, a second war began. Ahsoka became its blade. She struck supply depots, freed captured younglings, and exposed clone commanders still hunting Jedi across the Mid-Rim. Wherever Imperial control seemed certain, she broke it for one more day. Hope spread because people needed something to believe in. But Anakin was the storm. He had not become Vader in this timeline. He stood beside his master and his former apprentice, carrying all his rage against Sidious into open battle. Worlds on the edge of surrender turned back when they saw him. Clones hesitated when he cut through their lines without killing, unless he had no choice. Some removed their helmets, some remembered who they were. That change gave the survivors a chance. Small fleets defected. Planetary militias rose up. Even inside Coruscant, whispers of rebellion moved through the Senate halls. Sidious saw the danger at once. A surviving Jedi Order was one threat. Anakin Skywalker leading it was another. So he changed the game. He ordered the creation of a dark task force built from fallen Jedi and fanatical hunters. Their target was not the Senate or the fleet. It was Padme Amidala. If Anakin could not be broken by war, he would be broken by love. One coded message reached the Resistance first. Padme had vanished from Coruscant. Anakin froze. Obi-Wan saw the trap. Ahsoka reached for her sabers. And in that terrible silence, Sidious struck. The war to save the Republic had become something darker, because now, Anakin was no longer fighting for victory. He was racing to stop the woman he loved from becoming the weapon that destroyed him. When Padme vanished, the war changed at once. This was no longer only a fight for the Republic. It was a race against Sidious, and everyone in the Resistance knew it. If Anakin charged in alone, the Sith would break him. If they moved too slowly, Padme would die. Obi-Wan chose speed and discipline. Ahsoka chose stealth. Anakin chose neither. The rescue began above Mustafar, where Sidious had hidden his trap inside an old separatist refinery. Imperial gunships guarded the airspace. Sidious wanted Anakin to come in angry, isolated, and blind. He did not get what he wanted. Ahsoka led a strike team through the lower vents and cut the main power. Obi-Wan boarded from the eastern platform with the surviving Jedi and drew the hunters into open combat. Then Anakin came through the front gate like a storm, lightsaber blazing, tearing through blast doors before the alarm could finish sounding. Sidious had hoped fear would make Anakin submit. Instead, seeing her chained but unbroken, pulled him back from the edge. Padme met his eyes through the firelight and said the words Obi-Wan had prayed she would say. Anakin, don't give him your soul. The battle that followed shook the station apart. Ahsoka dueled two fallen Jedi in the control chamber. Obi-Wan held the central bridge against clone commandos, still locked inside their programming. Anakin reached Sidious in the heart of the refinery, where lava lit the walls like open wounds. Obi-Wan arrived beside him. Ahsoka came seconds later. For the first time, Sidious faced the Skywalker line before it had been broken. Sidious was still terrible. His lightning tore steel from the walls. His voice struck like poison. He turned platforms into traps and tried to rip old guilt open inside Anakin's chest. But Anakin had what Vader never had. He had people beside him. He had something stronger than fear. Not with one final strike, but with teamwork, sacrifice, and trust. Obi-Wan took the wound meant for Anakin. Ahsoka shattered Sidious's guard, and Anakin drove his blade through the Sith Lord's defenses, sending him into the furnace below. The Emperor's scream vanished into the fire. With Sidious dead, the Empire did not collapse in a single night. It cracked, then split. But the spell was broken. The lie was exposed. Palpatine had murdered the Jedi, staged the crisis, and twisted the Republic into a throne for himself. Recovered, furious, and very much alive, she returned to the Senate with Bail Organa and Mon Mothma at her side. Her speech was heard across 1,000 worlds. She did not ask for revenge. She asked for courage. End the emergency powers. Restore the law. Bring the clones home. Rebuild the Republic before fear could wear its mask again. The Civil War did not end in one battle. It ended in stages, sector by sector, fleet by fleet. Worlds that had feared the Jedi now saw them defending hospitals, escorting refugees, and refusing power for themselves. That mattered. So did Anakin Skywalker. He became the face of the Resistance victory, but he refused every title they offered him. No throne, no rank above the others, no cult of the Chosen One. He had seen how hero worship could turn into chains. Years passed. The fires cooled. The clones were freed from their inhibitor control, and many chose new lives. Some stayed as guardians. Some disappeared into quiet worlds, trying to become men instead of weapons. And the Jedi Order rose again, not as it had been before. Obi-Wan helped rebuild its teachings, but he stripped away the pride that had blinded the old council. Ahsoka trained students without demanding they bury every bond. Anakin taught that fear was real, attachment was dangerous, but love without control was not the same as love without hope. The new order was smaller, humbler, and closer to the people it served. Then came the children. Luke and Leia grew up in a galaxy that knew the truth. They knew their father not as a monster in black armor, but as the warrior who stood against the Sith when the Republic was dying. They heard stories of his courage, yes, but also his mistakes. Padme made sure of that. Heroism, she told them, meant choosing the light again and again, especially after coming close to the dark. The twins learned from all of them. From Padme, they learned duty. From Obi-Wan, patience. From Ahsoka, independence. From Anakin, daring. And from each other, they learned that destiny did not have to be faced alone. But deep beyond the known stars, something ancient had felt Sidious die. And one night, as Luke and Leia looked up at a silent sky, both children turned at the same moment, sensing the same cold presence staring back. The Sith had fallen. The hero had lived. The children had hope, but the Force was warning them of something worse, something waiting in the dark, beyond the edge of the known galaxy.